From KBIA and the New Territory with PRX, this is Rivertown, a celebration of the Missouri River and how it shapes the people and places it flows through. I'm Tina Casagrande Foss, and this is episode 2, Pedal or Paddle? So far, we've learned about how the Missouri River has inspired artists. In this episode, we're having some fun. We'll meet people who choose to spend their time sweating on the river. Our producers spent this past autumn meeting casual trail users, dryland athletes, and big river paddlers who enjoy actually getting their feet wet. And this is where I'll admit I don't like to sweat, and I don't love getting my feet wet. I can't even swim very well, at all. But I have a 16-year-old stepdaughter who just took a kayak out on the Missouri River by herself for the first time, a 14-mile trip. I admire the heck out of that. So, Gertrude Echo, this episode is for you. We'll try to answer my simple questions to her and all the cool athletes like her. Why? Why exercise at all? But also, why go through the extra trouble to get to the river to exercise? First, we're heading to the Katy Trail. This iconic 240-mile trail follows roughly along the north bank of the Missouri River. It begins in St. Charles on the east end, crosses the river about halfway in Boonville, then heads toward Clinton to the west. You can thank the Missouri River for flattening the land around here, which is probably why the Missouri-Kansas-Texas Railroad, aka the MKT, aka the Katy, chose to lay rail lines right there. When the railroad ceased its operations in the 1980s, the state began converting the lines into a recreational trail that is now the longest continuous rail trail in the United States. Nowadays, the Katy Trail is paved with limestone gravel, pieces of white chalky rock that's local to almost all of Missouri. Because of that, when I think about the Katy Trail, I think about dust. On a beautiful, dry day, you might be out admiring the river when a cyclist or horseback rider will pass and kick up a cloud of limestone dust all over you. You know you've been on the Katy Trail when you get home and have to brush your ankles clean. Let's hear more from someone who knows the Katy Trail front, back, and sideways, the author of the Katy Trail Guidebook.
So we are on the Katy Trail in Rocheport. It's this beautiful strip of green right next to the beautiful Missouri River, right in the heart of Missouri.
Brett Dufer is a river guide and writer who lives in Rocheport. When he graduated from the Missouri School of Journalism in Columbia years ago, he wanted to find a job nearby.
All the locals were saying, oh, this Katy Trail is going to be such a big deal. We need a guidebook. And I thought, well, that's crazy because the trail is flat and straight, and it's not like someone's going to wander off or something like that in the wrong direction.
Brett's right. The trail is notoriously flat. But it does pass near cool stuff. Giant trees, historic markers, and little towns with secret gems. Back in 1995, when Brett started writing, this stuff wasn't very well known.
What I realized people were hungry for is introduction to the history, the sense of place, all the stories that have come before, whether it's Lewis and Clark or the railroad days or the steamboats, Daniel Boone, Missouri wine country. The stories just go on and on and on. And so that's what I love about writing guidebooks is I try to help open people's eyes and inspire them and encourage them to get off the highway, so to speak, to really check out these small, authentic communities that still exist. It's a real labor of love, and sometimes it's easy to drown yourself in the research and never resurface. But I'm really tickled that the Katy Trail Guidebook in particular, I get to update it every year or two. That book is now in the 11th edition, and people just seem to love it, and so I'm going to just keep updating it as long as I can. It's a great story to tell.
The flatness of the Katy Trail means you are constantly pedaling at the same speed, mile after straight mile. There is no burn of climbing a steep hill and no thrill of coasting down one. But for folks looking for a steady pace, or those who love long bike journeys, the Katy Trail is the perfect destination. Rivertown producer Olivia Mizell found 2 such cyclists on the trail outside of Boonville, Jane Sappington and Linda McNadd.
What kind of brings you here today on this trail?
We're on the Big BAM ride. It's a bike across Missouri. It's a sponsored ride. And there's over 100 riders from all over the United States. And we started in Clinton, Missouri, and we're riding all the way to St. Charles.
And how long does that take?
6 days.
6 days? And what day are you on right now?
Day 2.
Day 2? How's it going so far?
Good.
Beautiful weather. We've been camping though, so it's cold at night.
Can you guys tell me a little bit about like your experience on this bike ride and like kind of what made you want to do it?
It's the longest developed rail trail in the country, and it's in the Rails to Trails Hall of Fame, and it's kind of right in our backyard since we live in St. Charles, because it goes, and so we've ridden some of it just on our daily, fun times, and so we decided we needed to do the whole thing.
And are you guys like big bikers? You do it a lot?
Not really. Not enough. I wasn't nearly as well prepared as I should have been for this trip.
But she's doing great. We're proud of ourselves.
We are proud of ourselves.
I would be too. That sounds like an adventure I could do. Jane and Linda will wrap up their ride back home in St. Charles in 4 days. That's 4 more days of scenic views on the Big Muddy. Of course, the river's recreational appeal isn't just limited to the banks. Some folks like to float or fish, while others like to race. And the Capital R Race, the largest nonstop river race in the world, takes place on the Missouri every July. It's called the MR340. 340 miles, no stopping, no matter the conditions. Unless it's really, really storming. The 2023 race actually got canceled because of heavy rain, rising water, and dangerous debris. Athletes do have more relaxed paddling options. In October, the annual Race to the Dome takes place as a fundraiser for the nonprofit Missouri River Relief. It's like a 5K benefit, but in boats. Paddlers start in one of 2 access points upriver, depending on if they want to paddle 16 miles or 28 miles. They end up across the river from Jefferson City, the state capital. That's why it's named Race to the Dome, for our state capitol building, which is in view of the finish line. Before the race, Christy Kurtz is hanging out with her kayak on the riverbank near Hartsburg. She's the founder of a paddling club called Paddle KC. She and about 14 other members of the group are participating in the race this year.
Some of us are doing it as a race, some of us are just doing it for fun. Me. It's really cool to see a lot of our paddlers start as fairly new paddlers, and then they build up the skills and the confidence to do this race. The Race to the Dome, we've got people here who've never been on a race ever. So this is their first race, and it's a lot of fun. We race down the river, and then at the end they have a big celebration with the awards for those people who are doing it for time. And we hear about updates with Missouri River Relief, and they're a fabulous organization. They do
Missouri River Relief is a nonprofit organization dedicated to exploration, enjoyment, restoration, and care of the river. Proceeds from today's registrations and sponsorships will go toward their work educating people about the Missouri River. Christy is thrilled to be able to support an organization she admires while doing something she loves so much. For her, paddling isn't just exercise, it's a whole lifestyle.
I like being close to the water. I like the feel of, moving on the water. I like the sound. I like seeing all the cool wildlife, the birds, the snakes, the fish. We see amazing things that you will never see when you're hiking. I love hiking too, and I've done backpacking, all those things. But there's just something about the water, especially like first thing in the morning when the sun's coming up and the fog's out there, or sunsets. We do a lot of sunset paddles. It's peaceful, it's fun, it's beautiful, and you see stuff you'd never see otherwise. And you meet the coolest people. I mean, you look around this place and you think, where else would I meet this wild assortment of people?
She's right. The launch is bustling with all kinds of people. Athletes in tights and sunglasses. Parents and grandparents with their kids wrapped in blankets. As things gear up for the race to begin, racers pack up their water and snacks and pose for photos. There's probably 100 people milling about.
All right, everybody, if you want to gather up here, we'll get our safety talk going.
Then River Relief's Dave Combs gives the paddlers a safety brief.
Well, welcome, everybody. I'm glad you guys all came out. It's going to be a beautiful day, a little cool start, but can't complain for a day like this. So, my name's Dave. I'm the fleet manager at River Relief. Welcome to the 14th annual Race to the Dome. We're going to go over some general safety information for you guys.
Safety on any river is important. But on the Missouri, it's top of mind for the race organizers. Dikes, barges, a strong current, and jumping carp are unique challenges to paddling the Missouri. Dave's biggest tip for today's paddlers: wear their PFDs. That's their personal flotation devices.
Make sure they're buckled and snug the whole time. Some hazards that you might run into out there today: there might be some recreational boaters out there. If you see them coming towards you, make sure you're visible. You can always wave a paddle in the air a little bit if you think they don't see you. The forecast today is a high of 62. It's a little cool right now, so just be aware of like hypothermia. You try and stay dry. The current is going to be the fastest in the channel right here. You're going to want to keep your boat in there to make it a little bit easier for you. If your boat should capsize, remember to be calm, relax. You've got some time, you've got your life jacket on. Don't try and paddle or swim upstream. Just kind of work your way over to the bank using the current. If you do get in the water, that'd probably be a good time to think about whether you need to call a safety boat or not, depending on what kind of clothing you've got and the temperatures. Again, don't feel bad about calling that number. We can come help you if you need it. Thanks again for coming out this morning, and thanks for supporting Missouri River Relief. Have fun out there, watch out for each other, and if you have any questions, let me know.
People are launching their boats into the water. There are canoes and kayaks for 1 or 2 people and stand-up paddleboards. Some years, there's a dragon boat that holds more than a dozen racers. And one year, my brother-in-law played his cello at the front of the canoe that my husband paddled. To see all this color in the Big Muddy is a beautiful sight.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And they're off. The race to the Dome can take anywhere from an hour and 40 minutes to almost 5 hours, depending on the distance the paddlers cover, their boat, and their style. Some people race for time, and others are just here for the social day out on the river. Rivertown producer Tadeo Ruiz headed down to the finish line by car. He chatted with paddlers as they came off the water, including one of only 3 stand-up paddleboarders to compete, Jamie Salee.
How long have you been doing this for?
Paddling for like 15 years now, but racing probably like 5 or 6.
Oh wow, why?
Yeah, just I used to have an all-around paddleboard, and then I wanted to go a little faster. And I found out those race boards, and they're a lot lighter and faster. And I just like to go fast, paddle hard.
Oh no, but like why paddling? I mean, you could have chosen, rock climbing, spelunking, skydiving.
Paddleboarding, just the love of the ocean. But then we're in Kansas, and so paddleboarding, you can do that anywhere. So yeah.
Well, that's nice. Congratulations. How do you feel about making it?
Yeah, it was good. I was good until right here, fell in right at the finish line. That was a little chilly, but overall it's good. It's nice to make it down, and it's beautiful to paddle, nice and quiet.
Everyone seems to have their reason why they love paddling so much. For many of the people we talked to at the race, it wasn't the adrenaline or the burn of engaging in a challenging sport, but the peace they feel from being out on the water.
We have a lot of people who come downtown just to look at the river for a few minutes.
This is Shane Camden, owner of Paddle Stop in New Haven, Missouri. Just a block away from the river, it's a boat shop and a brewery. Now that's some recreation I can relate to. Shane says he likes to watch people visit the riverside and just hit their reset buttons.
Maybe on your way home from work, maybe it's noisy in the house with kids running around and you just need to get out and see the river.
New Haven rests between the south side of the Missouri River and Highway 100, halfway between Herman to the west and Washington to the east. They have a tiny and darling downtown with a coffee and cocktail shop, a charming old-timey movie theater, and a glass studio with colorful ornaments, vases, and pictures sitting in the window. Outside, trains and birdsong are often the only sounds that punctuate New Haven's silence on a cool fall afternoon.
Okay, so you're coming from like the Catawissa area?
Yeah.
Inside Paddle Stop, the walls are decorated with mounted paddle boards and boats that Shane and his friends have built over the years. The coolest part of this building is the sink, which is a big wooden canoe right outside the restrooms. Shane clearly takes the Paddle Stop theme very seriously.
Do you want to keep it open or close it?
I'll close it.
The space is equipped with a bar, a beer hall, an art gallery, and even a library.
During the late spring, summer, and early fall, people can paddle right up to us. Get out of their boat and come have some beers. Like, you can always tell a paddler. They're almost always wearing a PFD or some kind of like sun protection. You can spot them as soon as they get off the boat ramp. Every year we have about a dozen paddlers come through that are paddling the whole river. And on any given day, really, but usually weekends, they're in here resting, charging their phones or their navigation and having a beer, maybe some food. And they're just sitting there like a normal person, but they're full of stories of the river because they've been on it for over 2,000 miles at that point, close to 2,400 miles.
Before it became a brewery, Shane started Paddle Stop as a river adventure company and has been leading group excursions ever since. Some of Paddle Stop's trips take place on a giant wooden canoe that Shane made. It's called the Voyager, and it seats up to 10 passengers. Other trips guide paddlers in their own kayaks.
We do trips on the rivers, on mostly the Missouri River, that are kind of like a sunset cruise, but then we'll stop on an island and make dinner. And then once the moon comes up, then we'll finish our trip under the moonlight. And so it's really a special time. You know, it's golden hour as well as like a fresh new moon.
I know he's right. There's a whole other world out there for people who paddle, and it's worth getting a little wet or cold. You can live near the river all your life and not really know it until you float out into something new.
Fortunately for paddlers, almost any time you're paddling, you're in nature and absorbing the beauty of nature. I think you could say the same for cycling or running or some other activity, but paddling is almost always in beautiful places. It's a way to clear my mind. I try not to think too much out there, just enjoy what I see and what I'm doing and where I'm at. For me, it's really just escaping the noise, the busyness, just getting away from it, getting kind of recentering, and again, enjoying nature and just stillness.
All right. Well, I may not be joining my stepdaughter on her next kayaking adventure. I'm starting to get an answer to what may be pulling her and all those athletes to the river. When you're standing next to or out on top of a huge flowing river, you can't help but feel a little small. And you feel the time pass differently. Suddenly, you're aware on some deep down level that your time on this earth, your impact, is nothing compared to a river's. I guess that's worth the sweat. That's this edition of Rivertown. Next time...
these are the future of River Relief. These are the kids who are going to be working for River Relief, in the next 15, 20 years. They're going to be the ones who are basically keeping the river clean.
We'll meet advocates for river health of all ages. Check out our website at columbiamissourian.com/Rivertown and see more Missouri River stories from Rivertown and beyond at newterritorymag.com/Rivertown.
Now I sit and wait and watch the time go by. I miss you, honey, but it's got to be. There's a river raging between.
Rivertown was reported by Tadeo Ruiz, Ailing Lee, Ellie Lynn, Kaylin Hellier, Olivia Mizell, and Kiana Fernandez. Abigail Keel is our producer and editor. Jessica Von Martin is our project manager. Music for Rivertown comes from Gloria Atun and Jason Shaw via the Free Music Archive Creative Commons license. Our audience teams and our photo teams are led by Professor Kara Edgerson and Professor Brian Kratzer at the Missouri News Network. Special thanks to the Mississippi River Basin Ag and Water Desk. Rivertown is a collaborative project from KBIA, the Missouri School of Journalism's Missouri News Network, and the New Territory magazine. Executive producers of Rivertown are Janet Saidi and me, Tina Casagrande Foss, in partnership with PRX.
Around me right before my very eyes. The river's got the corn and it's covered the track.